In my opinion, one of the better things to come out of this pessimistic decade we're living in has been the advent of working from home. A lot of workplaces ended up having no choice but to have their employees work remotely. But even after everyone stopped worrying about a worldwide pandemic, people began to realize that working from home isn't so bad. In fact, productivity stayed about the same or even went up in some cases. A lot of video game companies obviously had to go along with this, and Rockstar Games were not an exception. They, like everybody else, had to quickly figure out remote work solutions, and presumably things worked out well enough until somehow they didn't, or for some reason they decided to go back on this. According to a recent Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier, Rockstar's head of publishing, Jennifer Colby, sent out an email to all staff informing them that they will all have to return to their offices by April. According to the article, the email stated, "Making these changes now puts us in the best position to deliver the next Grand Theft Auto at the level of quality and polish we know it requires, along with a publishing roadmap that matches the scale and ambition of the game." It should have been obvious since the first trailer was announced that the game's development has entered the home stretch. Rockstar clearly wanted to wait until they were sure the game was ready enough to officially be shown off. This time around, they probably wanted to avoid showing it off too early. Good call, because even if this game was already shaping up by, say, 2021, if they made a trailer back then, it probably wouldn't look nearly as good as the one we got. Believe it or not, people already complained about the leaked footage from 2022 looking like GTA 5. So by this point, the game is much closer to being done. And as long as there aren't any major delays, then Rockstar seem intent on releasing the game next year. I'd love for it to be out by the summertime, but it's more than likely going to be October or November. I'm just going to go ahead and say October 24th, 2025. And I'm sure Take-Two are going to want to see this out just as much as fans. But having said all of that, many are pointing out the fact that other studios have released major projects that were developed by people working from home. So what's different with Rockstar? Now let me mention this because I've already seen some misunderstanding of what working 5 days a week on site means. This does not mean that they were working less than 5 days a week. They were working 5 days a week, but they were just doing so from their homes. So now, instead of working from home, they actually have to show up to the office again. And hopefully, this will not lead to crunch, considering how Rockstar were spending the last few years trying to move away from an environment that fosters crunch. But I can picture that a lot of staff are probably starting to worry about this. And from what some are saying, there are staff members who are not thrilled about this at all. A website from a union that represents game industry workers in the United Kingdom has a few statements from employees indicating their strong disagreement with this decision. They claim they were told that working from home was not going to be going anywhere, and that originally there was a proposal by management to work from home only 2 days a week, while being in the office for the other 3 days. But that was rejected by staff in favor of retaining a 100% remote position. I would not be surprised if there's already a lot of back and forth at Rockstar about this. It seems that clearly a lot of people are just not happy with this decision one bit, and the effect it's going to have on their work lives. According to Schreier's article, Rockstar is claiming both productivity and security. And to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if a huge motivator for their decision in this had to do with the amount of leaks that have been surrounding this game. I was talking about this with a friend of mine the day that Rockstar released the trailer. This has probably been the unluckiest lead up to a game thus far out of them. Before September of 2022, you had bits of legit info trickling out, but we had no way of knowing how legit it really was. There was nothing to compare it with. Kind of like when some of Red Dead 2's story and map leaked in 2016. Now, back then, I just thought it was a really well-made fake, and there's gotta be some people who just did not believe they would be helping a horse give birth in that game. But then it came out and bitch-slapped us all with the fact that those were actually leaks. But with GTA 6, you had a ton of real footage of the game in development that just wound up on the internet. You know, where it's not supposed to be. And the GTA 5 source code got leaked too, and that was just from some kid using a Fire Stick on a TV in a hotel room, and likely a bit of social engineering to gain access to a Rockstar employee's Slack channel where the footage was being shared between developers for work purposes. Of course, that's not to say that something like that couldn't have happened from the office either. But then you also had a much smaller leak that was still kind of embarrassing nonetheless. A kid recorded a few seconds of footage of the game from the house of Rockstar North's head of development. It was either his son or one of his son's friends, but either way, it shows that all it took was for him to get up and leave for a moment for footage to end up out there. And then somehow, the entire trailer itself leaked a day before it was supposed to premiere. Although I think it's pretty likely that this might have leaked from YouTube itself. It was uploaded to YouTube for a premiere, and maybe someone somehow got it off of YouTube's server, probably a YouTube employee themselves. I don't know exactly how many people at Rockstar are working from home, but I'd be willing to bet that there's quite a lot of positions that could definitely be fully remote or at least partially remote. But given the amount of serious security issues they've obviously had in the last couple of years, I still can't help but feel that a big part of this decision really had to do with the amount of things that have leaked since their workforce has been home, whether or not it's actually the fault of them working from home or not. And that's painful to say because I am 100% all for remote work if it's applicable to the position that somebody is working in. Several games that have been out in the last few years were made with employees working from home too. But some might argue that these games would likely also have much smaller teams compared to GTA 6, where thousands of people are all involved in some aspect of its production. And with that many people involved, you could also say that leaks were probably bound to happen sooner or later regardless of the company's remote work status. Like I said, it's still painful. Especially since Schreier also wrote another article last month talking about how a lot of people were hoping for a bigger embrace of working from home in the video game industry. Because some people wind up landing a job in the field, but then they were forced to relocate to where the studio is, which is tough enough. And then as we've seen in the last couple months, a lot of people have been laid off in this industry. It is tough out there. And keep in mind, leaks have still happened even long before almost anyone in the industry considered letting a ton of staff work from home. The map of Red Dead 2 still leaked, and the story details that nobody believed until the game came out. How the hell did that even happen? Anyway, what are your thoughts on all of this? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.